In a world where wealth often separates people, the story of Ethan Carter stands out as a reminder that humanity can bridge even the widest gaps. Ethan was born into one of the richest families in the country, a lineage known for its sprawling businesses and luxurious lifestyle. Yet despite his privileged upbringing, Ethan never let his wealth define him. From a young age, he had been taught the importance of humility and hard work by his parents, who believed that true success came not from money but from character. As he grew older, these lessons shaped him into someone who valued relationships over riches. However, it wasn't until he left the comfort of his family estate to attend college that Ethan truly began to understand the diversity of life. College was a completely new experience for Ethan. For the first time, he was surrounded by people from all walks of life, students who worked multiple jobs to pay their tuition, others who relied on scholarships, and some who struggled daily just to make ends meet. It was here that Ethan met Jake, a lively and outgoing guy who became his roommate. Jake introduced Ethan to a tight-knit group of friends, each unique in their own way. Among them was Mia, a spirited young woman with a warm smile and an infectious laugh. What set Mia apart from the rest was her unwavering determination. Unlike many of her peers, she didn't have the luxury of focusing solely on her studies. She worked long hours at a diner near campus to support herself while pursuing her education. Mia's life was far from easy. She came from a modest background, and her family couldn't afford to send her to college. But Mia refused to let circumstances dictate her future. With sheer grit, she secured a partial scholarship and took up a job as a waitress to cover the rest of her expenses. Despite her exhausting schedule, she always found time to help others, whether it was tutoring classmates or volunteering at community events. Her optimism was contagious, and Ethan admired how she managed to stay positive even when things got tough. Over late-night study sessions and casual hangouts, Ethan and Mia grew closer. He enjoyed listening to her talk about her dreams of becoming a lawyer someday, a dream fueled by her desire to fight for justice and equality. As months turned into years, Ethan noticed little things about Mia that made her special. She had a knack for finding beauty in simplicity, appreciating moments that others might overlook. Whether it was sipping coffee during sunrise or laughing uncontrollably over silly jokes, Mia lived fully in every moment. Yet beneath her cheerful exterior lay a deep sense of responsibility. She often spoke about wanting to give back to her community once she achieved her goals. Ethan couldn't help but feel inspired by her vision. At the same time, he felt a pang of guilt knowing that his own path was paved with opportunities handed to him without effort. Despite their differences, Ethan and Mia shared a bond built on mutual respect and understanding. They challenged each other intellectually, debated passionately about social issues, and supported one another through personal struggles. Ethan confided in Mia about the pressure he felt to live up to his family's expectations, while Mia opened up about her fears of failing to achieve her dreams. These conversations brought them closer, creating a friendship that transcended their contrasting worlds. Even after graduation approached, neither wanted to imagine life without the other's presence. When the time came for Ethan to leave college, he promised Mia they would stay in touch no matter what. True to his word, he called her regularly, asking about her progress and offering words of encouragement whenever she doubted herself. Meanwhile, Ethan returned home to step into the role of CEO at his family's company. The transition wasn't easy. He faced immense scrutiny from board members and employees alike, many of whom questioned if a young man fresh out of college could handle such a massive responsibility. But Ethan proved them wrong with his innovative ideas and empathetic leadership style. Still, amidst the chaos of meetings and deadlines, he often thought about Mia and wondered how she was coping. Back at college, Mia continued to juggle work and studies. Though the strain was beginning to show, the double burden of academic pressure and financial instability weighed heavily on her shoulders. There were days when exhaustion overwhelmed her, leaving her questioning whether her sacrifices were worth it. One particularly rough semester, she realized she wouldn't be able to keep up with both responsibilities anymore. Heartbroken, she made the difficult decision to drop out of school temporarily, hoping to save enough money to return later. Warmangcheer. Full-time at the diner became her sole focus, and though she put on a brave face, inside she felt like she had failed herself. Word of Mia's situation reached Ethan through Jake, who happened to visit the diner one evening. Concerned, Jake called Ethan immediately to share the news. Hearing about Mia's plight left Ethan shaken. He replayed their conversations in his mind, remembering how fiercely she had fought to pursue her education. The thought of her giving up broke something inside him. That night, unable to sleep, Ethan reflected on his own privileges and the countless opportunities he had been given. He realized that while he had always appreciated Mia's strength, he hadn't done enough to support her when she needed it most. Determined to change that, he devised a plan that would alter the course of both their lives forever. The following morning, Ethan drove to the diner where Mia worked. It was early, and the place was bustling with customers grabbing breakfast before heading to work. As he entered, he spotted Mia weaving between tables, expertly balancing trays laden with food. Watching her move with practiced efficiency, Ethan couldn't help but marvel at her resilience. After finishing a round of orders, Mia finally noticed him standing near the counter. Her eyes widened in surprise. "Ethan, what are you doing? Here?" she asked, pulling off her apron to greet him properly. Before responding, Ethan pulled out an envelope from his coat pocket and handed it to her. Confused, Mia hesitated before opening it. Inside was a check covering her entire remaining tuition fees along with a heartfelt note. "Your dream is worth fighting for." Mia stared at the check in disbelief, tears welling up in her eyes. She tried to hand it back, insisting she couldn't accept such generosity. But Ethan gently stopped her, explaining that her kindness and perseverance had touched his life deeply. He reminded her of all the times she had encouraged him during challenging moments and assured her that this was his way of returning the favor. Overwhelmed with emotion, Mia hugged him tightly, unable to find the words to express her gratitude. In that moment, she felt a renewed sense of hope, a belief that maybe, just maybe, her dreams weren't out of reach after all. From that day forward, Ethan became more than just a friend to Mia. He became her mentor and biggest supporter. He helped her navigate the complexities of re-enrolling in college, guided her through rigorous exam preparations, and connected her with influential figures in the legal field. His unwavering faith in her abilities gave Mia the confidence to push past her insecurities and embrace her potential fully. Slowly but surely, she regained her footing, excelling in her classes and earning accolades for her dedication. Through it all, Ethan remained by her side, cheering her on every step of the way. What started as a simple act of kindness soon blossomed into something much greater. Inspired by Mia's journey, Ethan began using his resources to uplift others facing similar challenges. He established scholarships for underprivileged students, ensuring that financial constraints wouldn't stand in the way of their aspirations. He also partnered with local organizations to create programs aimed at empowering individuals from marginalized communities. Each initiative stemmed from the realization that true fulfillment came not from accumulating wealth, but from making a tangible impact on people's lives. And as Mia flourished, so did Ethan, discovering a deeper purpose beyond the confines of his corporate empire. Their story eventually spread beyond their immediate circle, capturing the attention of media outlets and inspiring countless individuals worldwide. People marveled at how one billionaire's decision to support a struggling waitress sparked a chain reaction of hope and opportunity. For Mia, achieving her dream of becoming a lawyer marked the beginning of a lifelong mission to advocate for justice and fairness. She vowed to honor Ethan's generosity by paying it forward, dedicating her career to helping those in need. Together, they embodied the transformative power of compassion and proved that even the smallest acts of kindness could lead to extraordinary outcomes. Mia's journey back to college was nothing short of a miracle. With Ethan's support, she re-enrolled in her courses, determined to make the most of this second chance. The transition wasn't easy. She had been away from academics for months and found herself struggling to catch up with her classmates. Long nights turned into early mornings as she pored over textbooks, scribbling notes and practicing case studies. Her hands were often stained with ink, and her eyes carried dark circles from lack of sleep. But she refused to give up. Every time doubt crept in, she remembered Ethan's words, "Your dream is worth fighting for." That simple sentence became her mantra, fueling her determination to succeed. Ethan, on the other hand, continued to play an active role in Mia's life. He didn't just stop at funding her education, he went out of his way to ensure she had everything she needed to thrive. From recommending books written by renowned legal experts to introducing her to influential lawyers who could guide her career, Ethan left no stone unturned. His involvement wasn't intrusive, it was thoughtful and genuine. He understood that Mia's success would depend not only on financial aid but also on mentorship and encouragement. Their friendship deepened during this period, built on trust and mutual respect. While some might have questioned why a billionaire would invest so much time in someone like Mia, Ethan saw it differently. To him, helping Mia wasn't about charity. It was about believing in someone's potential and giving them the tools to realize it. As Mia progressed through law school, her hard work began to pay off. She started earning top grades in her classes, impressing professors with her sharp analytical skills and passion for justice. One professor even remarked that Mia had a natural talent for advocacy, predicting she would go far in the field. These accolades boosted her confidence, but they also reminded her of how far she had come. There were moments when she looked back at her days working at the diner and wondered if she'd ever imagined sitting in a lecture hall discussing constitutional rights or drafting legal briefs. It felt surreal, yet deeply fulfilling. She knew none of it would have been possible without Ethan's intervention, and she silently vowed to honor his faith in her by excelling in every way possible. While Mia focused on her studies, Ethan faced challenges of his own. Running a billion-dollar company wasn't easy, especially for someone still relatively new to the corporate world. Board members scrutinized his every decision, and competitors tried to undermine his leadership. Yet despite the pressure, Ethan remained calm and composed. He attributed his resilience to the lessons he had learned from Mia, lessons about perseverance, humility, and finding strength in adversity. Watching her fight for her dreams inspired him to approach his responsibilities with renewed vigor. He began implementing innovative strategies within the company, prioritizing employee welfare and sustainable growth over short-term profits. These changes earned him both criticism and praise, but Ethan didn't care about public opinion. What mattered to him was staying true to his values and making a positive impact. Meanwhile, Mia's story began to spread among their college friends. Jake, who had always admired Mia's spirit, couldn't stop talking about how proud he was of her transformation. Other friends joined in, sharing anecdotes about Mia's kindness and dedication. Word eventually reached alumni networks and social media platforms, turning Mia into a symbol of hope for aspiring students everywhere. People were moved by her journey, not because she had achieved greatness overnight, but because she had overcome immense obstacles to chase her dreams. And then there was Ethan, whose selfless act of generosity became a testament to the power of compassion. Together, they inspired countless individuals to believe that no dream was too big and no obstacle too insurmountable. Despite her growing recognition, Mia remained grounded. She never forgot where she came from or the struggles that had shaped her. During breaks between semesters, she returned to the diner where she used to work, visiting her former colleagues and catching up with the owner, Mrs. Peterson. The elderly woman had always treated Mia like family, offering advice and encouragement during tough times. Now seeing Mia dressed in professional attire and speaking confidently about her future brought tears to Mrs. Peterson's eyes. "You've always had it in you, dear," she said, hugging Mia tightly. "I'm so proud of you." Those words meant the world to Mia, reinforcing her belief that success wasn't just about personal achievements. It was about uplifting those around you. As graduation approached, Mia prepared for one of the biggest milestones of her life. She spent weeks perfecting her thesis, rehearsing speeches, and attending networking events. Despite the excitement, she couldn't shake off a lingering sense of nervousness. What if she failed to live up to everyone's expectations? What if she wasn't good enough? On the day of her graduation, these doubts threatened to overwhelm her. But as she stood backstage, waiting to walk onto the stage, she spotted Ethan sitting in the audience. His presence calmed her nerves instantly. He gave her a reassuring smile, mouthing the words, "You've got this." In that moment, all her fears melted away. When her name was called, Mia walked confidently toward the podium, accepting her diploma with pride. As applause erupted around her, she glanced at Ethan once more, silently thanking him for believing in her when she couldn't believe in herself. After graduation, Mia landed an internship at a prestigious law firm, a stepping stone toward her ultimate goal of becoming a civil rights attorney. The internship was demanding, requiring long hours and relentless dedication, but Mia thrived under pressure, impressing her supervisors with her work ethic and problem-solving abilities. She quickly gained a reputation as someone who could handle complex cases with empathy and precision. Her colleagues admired her ability to connect with clients, listening to their stories without judgment and advocating fiercely on their behalf. It wasn't long before Mia realized that her background, the struggles she had faced as a waitress and a first-generation college student, had prepared her for this role in ways she hadn't anticipated. She understood what it meant to fight for dignity and fairness, qualities that made her a formidable advocate. During this time, Ethan continued to expand his philanthropic efforts. Inspired by Mia's journey, he launched a foundation aimed at providing scholarships and mentorship programs for underprivileged students. The foundation partnered with universities, community organizations, and businesses to create opportunities for young people from marginalized backgrounds. Ethan traveled across the country, meeting beneficiaries of the program and hearing their stories. Each encounter reinforced his belief in the importance of education as a tool for empowerment. He often invited Mia to speak at events organized by the foundation, knowing her story would resonate with audiences. Watching her address crowds with poise and conviction filled him with pride, reminding him of why he had chosen to help her in the first place. Their partnership extended beyond professional endeavors. Over the years, Ethan and Mia developed a bond that transcended friendship. They shared a unique connection rooted in mutual admiration and shared experiences. Whether it was celebrating Mia's victories or navigating setbacks together, they leaned on each other for support. Ethan often joked that Mia was the only person who could call him out without hesitation, while Mia teased him about his perfectionist tendencies. Yet beneath the playful banter lay a profound understanding. They had grown together, learning from each other and evolving into better versions of themselves. One evening, as they sat on a rooftop overlooking the city skyline, Mia turned to Ethan with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we hadn't met?" she asked softly. Ethan paused, considering the question. "Maybe our paths would have crossed in some other way," he replied after a moment. "But I'm glad things turned out the way they did. You've taught me more than I could have imagined." Mia smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. She knew she owed much of her success to Ethan, but she also recognized the reciprocal nature of their relationship. By supporting her, Ethan had discovered a deeper purpose, one that enriched his life in ways he hadn't foreseen. Years passed, and Mia's career soared to new heights. She became a prominent figure in the legal community, known for her unwavering commitment to justice and equality. Her courtroom arguments were legendary, combining logic with emotion in a way that captivated judges and juries alike. Outside of work, she dedicated herself to mentoring young lawyers, particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds. She wanted to ensure that others wouldn't have to face the same barriers she once did. Meanwhile, Ethan's foundation flourished, transforming lives and creating opportunities for thousands of students. Together, they proved that collaboration and compassion could spark meaningful change. Their story became a beacon of hope for many, illustrating the transformative power of kindness and belief. People marveled at how two individuals from vastly different worlds had come together to create something extraordinary. For Mia, achieving her dreams was a testament to resilience and determination. For Ethan, supporting Mia was a reminder that wealth was meaningless without purpose. And for everyone else, their journey served as proof that even the smallest acts of generosity could lead to extraordinary outcomes. As they stood side as Mia settled into her role as a civil rights attorney, she quickly realized that the challenges she faced were far greater than anything she had encountered in law school. The cases she took on involved individuals who had been marginalized and silenced by society, people whose voices had been ignored for far too long. Many of them came to her with stories of injustice, their eyes filled with desperation and hope. It was a heavy responsibility, but Mia approached each case with unwavering dedication. She spent countless hours researching precedents, drafting motions, and preparing arguments. Her days often stretched late into the night, fueled by cups of coffee and an unrelenting drive to make a difference. Ethan watched from afar as Mia poured her heart into her work. He admired her passion and the way she tackled every challenge with courage and grace. Though he was busy running his company and expanding his foundation, he made it a point to check in on Mia regularly. Sometimes, they would meet for dinner after a long day, sharing updates about their lives over plates of pasta or slices of pizza. Other times, Ethan would send her encouraging messages when he knew she was dealing with a particularly tough case. These small gestures meant the world to Mia, reminding her that she wasn't alone in her fight for justice. One of Mia's most memorable cases involved a single mother named Clara, who had been wrongfully evicted from her apartment due to discriminatory practices by her landlord. Clara worked 2 jobs to provide for her 3 children, yet she found herself homeless overnight because of policies that favored wealthier tenants. When Clara approached Mia, she was hesitant, unsure if anyone would take her side, but Mia saw something in Clara, a quiet strength that reminded her of herself. She promised Clara that she would do everything in her power to help her get back on her feet. The case was complicated, involving layers of bureaucracy and legal loopholes designed to protect powerful property owners. Mia spent weeks gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, and building a solid argument. She reached out to Ethan for advice, knowing his experience in navigating complex systems could be invaluable. Together, they brainstormed strategies, poring over documents and discussing potential outcomes. Ethan even offered to fund additional resources, hiring private investigators to uncover crucial details that strengthened Mia's case. Their collaboration proved to be a game-changer, giving Mia the tools she needed to present a compelling argument in court. When the verdict finally came in Mia's favor, it was a moment of triumph not just for Clara, but for everyone who had ever felt powerless against systemic oppression. The judge ruled in Clara's favor, ordering the landlord to reinstate her tenancy and pay damages for emotional distress. As Mia stood in the courtroom, watching Clara hug her children tightly, tears streamed down her face. This victory wasn't just about winning a case, it was about restoring dignity and hope to someone who had been stripped of both. For Mia, it reinforced why she had chosen this path in the first place. Every sleepless night, every stressful moment, had been worth it to see justice served. News of the landmark ruling spread quickly, drawing attention from local media outlets and advocacy groups. Journalists praised Mia for her relentless pursuit of fairness, calling her a rising star in the field of civil rights law. Her name began appearing in headlines, and invitations to speak at conferences and panel discussions poured in. Yet, despite the growing recognition, Mia remained humble. She credited her success to the support system around her, her family, her mentors, and especially Ethan. Without his guidance and encouragement, she often said, she wouldn't have been able to achieve what she had. Ethan, meanwhile, continued to expand his philanthropic efforts, inspired by the impact Mia was making in the legal world. He launched new initiatives aimed at addressing systemic inequalities, partnering with organizations focused on housing rights, education reform, and criminal justice. His foundation provided grants to grassroots movements led by people directly affected by these issues, ensuring that their voices were heard and amplified. Ethan also organized fundraising events, bringing together influential figures from various industries to raise awareness and resources for underserved communities. Through these efforts, He hoped to create a ripple effect of change, empowering others to follow in Mia's footsteps. Their shared mission brought them closer than ever before. They spent hours discussing ideas for future projects, brainstorming ways to tackle pressing social issues. Ethan valued Mia's insights, knowing her first-hand experience gave her a unique perspective on the problems they sought to solve. In turn, Mia appreciated Ethan's vision and determination, recognizing that his resources and influence could amplify their collective impact. Together they became a formidable team, combining their strengths to address some of society's most entrenched challenges. Despite their busy schedules, they made time for lighter moments too. On weekends, they would escape the hustle and bustle of the city, driving to scenic spots where they could relax and recharge. They explored hiking trails, visited art galleries, and dined at cozy restaurants tucked away in quiet neighborhoods. These outings allowed them to step away from their responsibilities and simply enjoy each other's company. They laughed over inside jokes, debated topics ranging from politics to pop culture, and shared dreams for the future. In those moments, it was easy to forget the weight of the world outside. They were just two friends enjoying life together. But reality always had a way of pulling them back. One evening, as they sat by a crackling fire in a cabin nestled deep in the woods, Mia turned to Ethan with a serious expression. "Do you ever feel like we're fighting an uphill battle?" she asked quietly. Ethan nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. "Sometimes," he admitted. "It can feel overwhelming, knowing how much needs to be done." He paused, looking into the flames. "But then I think about all the people we've helped, the lives we've touched, and it reminds me why we keep going." Mia smiled, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also knew she wasn't walking it alone. With Ethan by her side, she felt capable of taking on whatever challenges lay ahead. Their partnership was built on trust, respect, and a shared commitment to making the world a better place. It was a bond that transcended friendship, rooted in the belief that together they could achieve extraordinary things. Over time, their story gained even more traction, inspiring people around the globe. Documentaries were made about Mia's journey from waitress to civil rights attorney, highlighting the pivotal role Ethan played in her transformation. Social media platforms buzzed with conversations about their collaboration, with hashtags like #BelieveInDreams and #PayItForward trending worldwide. People marveled at how one act of kindness had sparked a chain reaction of positivity, proving that compassion could indeed change lives. For Mia, the recognition was bittersweet. While she was grateful for the platform it gave her to advocate for others, she never lost sight of her roots. She continued to visit the diner where she used to work, catching up with old colleagues, and reminiscing about simpler times. Mrs. Peterson, the owner, often joked that Mia should write a book about her experiences. "Imagine all the people you could inspire," she exclaimed during one such visit. Mia laughed, brushing off the suggestion, though secretly she liked the idea. Maybe someday she thought she would share her story, not for fame, but to remind others that no dream was too big and no obstacle too insurmountable. Ethan, too, reflected on how much their journey had transformed him. Before meeting Mia, he had viewed success purely in terms of financial achievements. But now he understood that true fulfillment came from using his privilege to uplift others. Watching Mia fight for justice and equality reignited his passion for creating opportunities where none existed. Whether it was funding scholarships, supporting grassroots movements, or mentoring young entrepreneurs, Ethan embraced every opportunity to make a difference. He knew that his legacy wouldn't be measured by the size of his fortune, but by the lives he touched along the way. As years passed, Mia and Ethan continued to push boundaries, challenging societal norms and advocating for change. Their partnership evolved, growing stronger with each passing day. They celebrated victories, navigated setbacks, and learned from failures, always emerging more resilient than before. Together, they proved that the power of compassion and belief could transcend barriers, bridging gaps between worlds and inspiring others to do the same. And though their journey was far from over, they faced the future with optimism, knowing they had each other, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow to guide them forward. As Mia's reputation as a civil rights attorney grew, so did the complexity of the cases she took on. She found herself at the center of high-profile lawsuits that drew national attention, each one presenting unique challenges that tested her resolve and skills. One such case involved a group of factory workers who had been exposed to toxic chemicals due to negligence by their employer. The workers, many of whom were immigrants with limited access to legal resources, suffered from severe health issues but were too afraid to speak out for fear of losing their jobs or facing deportation. When they finally sought help, it was Mia who stepped forward to represent them. The case was daunting, not only because of its technical intricacies but also because of the powerful corporation backing the employer. Lawyers from top firms were brought in to defend the company, using every tactic imaginable to discredit Mia and her clients. They filed motions to delay proceedings, questioned the credibility of witnesses, and even attempted to intimidate the workers into silence. But Mia refused to back down. She worked tirelessly, poring over medical reports, consulting experts, and building a robust case that left no room for doubt. Her determination inspired her clients, giving them the courage to stand up against a system designed to oppress them. Ethan played a crucial role behind the scenes, providing Mia with the resources she needed to fight this battle. He funded independent investigations, hired specialists to analyze data, and connected her with influential figures who could lend their voices to the cause. His involvement wasn't just financial. He attended strategy meetings, offering insights based on his own experiences navigating corporate landscapes. Together, they crafted a plan that combined legal expertise with strategic public relations, ensuring that the story reached a wider audience. News outlets picked up the case, shining a spotlight on the injustices faced by the workers. Public outrage mounted, putting pressure on the corporation to settle. When the settlement was announced, a substantial compensation package for the affected workers along with promises to improve safety standards, it felt like a monumental victory. For Mia, however, the real triumph lay in seeing her clients reclaim their dignity. Many of them expressed gratitude not only for the financial support, but also for being given a voice in a world that often ignored them. As Mia hugged each worker, after the final hearing, tears streaming down her face, she realized how much this case had changed her. It reinforced her belief that justice wasn't just about winning arguments in court. It was about restoring humanity to those who had been stripped of it. The success of the factory workers' case catapulted Mia into the national spotlight. Invitations to speak at prestigious events flooded in, and she became a sought-after commentator on issues related to labor rights and workplace safety. Yet, despite the accolades, Mia remained grounded. She continued to focus on grassroots efforts, working closely with community organizations to address systemic problems at their roots. She believed that true change couldn't happen without engaging directly with the people most affected by these issues. This philosophy resonated deeply with Ethan, who admired her commitment to staying connected to the communities she served. Meanwhile, Ethan expanded his foundation's reach, launching initiatives aimed at protecting vulnerable populations in the workforce. He established partnerships with unions, advocacy groups, and educational institutions to create programs that empowered workers with knowledge and tools to advocate for themselves. These programs included workshops on legal rights, training, sessions on negotiation skills, and platforms for workers to share their stories. Ethan also advocated for policy changes at both local and national levels, lobbying lawmakers to enact stronger protections for employees. His efforts complemented Mia's work perfectly, creating a synergy that amplified their collective impact. Their collaboration extended beyond professional endeavors. On weekends, they often visited neighborhoods where their projects were implemented, meeting beneficiaries and listening to their feedback. These interactions gave them a deeper understanding of the challenges people faced and helped shape future strategies. Whether it was sitting around a kitchen table discussing housing insecurity with a single mother, or touring a construction site to learn about unsafe working conditions, Mia and Ethan immersed themselves in the realities of those they sought to help. These experiences strengthened their bond, reminding them of why they had chosen this path in the first place. One particular visit left a lasting impression on both of them. They traveled to a rural town where Ethan's foundation had recently opened a community center, offering free legal aid and job training programs. The center was bustling with activity, children playing in a makeshift playground outside while adults attended workshops inside. As they walked through the facility, they met Maria, a young woman who had recently completed a vocational training course offered by the center. Maria shared her story of overcoming domestic abuse and finding independence through the program. Her resilience moved Mia to tears, while Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose knowing that their efforts were making tangible differences in people's lives. That evening, as they drove back to the city, neither spoke for a long time. The weight of what they had witnessed settled over them, mingling with a quiet sense of fulfillment. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. "Do you ever think about how different our lives might have been if we hadn't crossed paths?" he asked softly. Mia glanced at him, a thoughtful expression on her face. "All the time," she replied. "But I don't dwell on it. What matters is where we are now and where we're headed." Ethan nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "You're right. We've come a long way." Their reflections weren't just nostalgic. They were reminders of how interconnected their journeys had become. Mia often credited Ethan with giving her the opportunity to pursue her dreams, but Ethan insisted that she had done the same for him. By showing him the value of compassion and empathy, she had transformed his perspective on wealth and success. Together, they had created something far greater than either could have achieved alone, a legacy rooted in kindness and action. As their influence grew, so did the scrutiny they faced. Critics accused Ethan of using philanthropy as a means to polish his image, while others dismissed Mia's achievements as products of privilege rather than merit. Both were aware of the skepticism surrounding their work, but they chose to let their actions speak for themselves. They doubled down on transparency, documenting every step of their initiatives and sharing progress reports with the public. They invited journalists to observe their programs firsthand, allowing them to see the genuine impact of their efforts. Slowly but surely, the criticism began to fade, replaced by admiration for their unwavering dedication. Despite the challenges, Mia and Ethan never lost sight of their ultimate goal, creating a world where everyone had an equal chance to succeed. They understood that systemic change required patience and persistence, qualities they embodied in everything they did. Whether it was mentoring young lawyers, funding scholarships, or advocating for policy reforms, they approached each task with the same level of passion and integrity. Their partnership became a model for others, demonstrating that collaboration across different spheres could lead to extraordinary outcomes. Over time, their story evolved into something larger than themselves. Documentaries chronicled their journey, capturing moments of triumph and struggle alike. Books were written about their unconventional friendship and the ripple effect it had created. Schools incorporated their story into curriculums, teaching students about the power of empathy and teamwork. People from all walks of life found inspiration in their example, proving that acts of kindness, no matter how small, could spark movements capable of transforming society. For Mia, the journey was a testament to resilience and belief. Every obstacle she had overcome, every victory she had celebrated, reinforced her faith in the possibility of change. She knew that none of it would have been possible without Ethan's unwavering support, and she vowed to honor his generosity by continuing to fight for justice. For Ethan, the experience had redefined his understanding of success. He no longer measured his worth by material possessions, but by the lives he touched and the opportunities he created. Together, they proved that true wealth lay not in riches but in relationships and shared purpose. As they stood side by side at a gala celebrating their foundation's 5th anniversary, surrounded by beneficiaries, supporters, and friends, they exchanged a glance filled with unspoken gratitude. Though their journey had been anything but easy, they wouldn't trade it for anything. Through laughter, tears, victories, and setbacks, they had built something remarkable. A partnership founded on trust, respect, and a shared vision for a better world. And as they looked toward the future, They knew there was still much work to be done. But with each other by their side, they faced it with hope, knowing that together, they could achieve the impossible. Mia and Ethan's journey was far from over, but as the years rolled by, their impact began to take on a life of its own. The foundation they had built together, both metaphorically and literally, was now a force to be reckoned with. It wasn't just about funding scholarships or supporting grassroots movements anymore. It was about creating sustainable systems that empowered people to break free from cycles of poverty and oppression. One of their most ambitious projects was the launch of a nationwide mentorship program aimed at connecting young professionals with mentors in their desired fields. The idea stemmed from Mia's own experiences, how having someone believe in her had made all the difference, and Ethan's realization that guidance could be just as transformative as financial aid. The mentorship program quickly gained traction, attracting volunteers from diverse industries who were eager to give back. Lawyers, doctors, engineers, artists, and entrepreneurs signed up to share their knowledge and expertise with aspiring individuals. What set the program apart was its emphasis on personalized support. Instead of simply pairing participants randomly, Mia and Ethan worked closely with counselors to match mentees with mentors based on shared interests, goals, and values. This approach ensured that relationships were meaningful and productive, fostering connections that extended beyond formal sessions. Many mentees credited the program with helping them navigate career challenges, build confidence, and discover opportunities they never knew existed. For Mia, seeing the program thrive was deeply fulfilling. She often attended workshops and networking, events organized by the initiative, sharing her story and encouraging participants to dream boldly. Her presence had a profound effect on those she interacted with, especially young women from underprivileged backgrounds who saw her as proof that success was attainable regardless of circumstances. "If I can do it, so can you," she would say during speeches, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. These words became a rallying cry for countless individuals striving to carve out their place in the world. Ethan, too, found joy in witnessing the ripple effects of their work. He loved hearing stories of transformation, like the young man from a low-income neighborhood who had been mentored by a tech entrepreneur and went on to secure a scholarship to study computer science, or the single mother who, with the help of a business coach, launched her own catering company. Each success story reinforced his belief in the power of community-driven change. Yet what touched him most was the gratitude expressed by beneficiaries. Whether it was a handwritten note thanking him for believing in their potential or a heartfelt hug at an event, these gestures reminded him why he had chosen this path. Despite their achievements, Mia and Ethan faced new challenges as their efforts expanded. Scaling initiatives required navigating complex logistics, managing large teams, and securing consistent funding streams. There were moments when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm them, days when meetings stretched late into the night, emails piled up unanswered, and deadlines loomed ominously. But they leaned on each other during these times, drawing strength from their shared commitment to the cause. They reminded themselves that setbacks were temporary and that perseverance was key to overcoming obstacles. One particular challenge tested their resolve more than others. A major donor withdrew funding unexpectedly, leaving a significant gap in resources needed to sustain several ongoing projects. Panic set in among staff members, and whispers of doubt spread through the organization. Faced with this crisis, Mia and Ethan called an emergency meeting to address concerns and brainstorm solutions. Sitting around a conference table littered with papers and coffee cups, they listened intently as team members voiced fears and frustrations. When silence fell, Ethan spoke first, his tone calm but firm. "We've faced bigger storms before," he said, "and we'll weather this one too." Inspired by his words, Mia chimed in, outlining a plan to bridge the funding gap. They decided to host a fundraising gala, inviting not only high-profile donors, but also everyday supporters who believed in their mission. Together, they crafted a compelling narrative highlighting the tangible impact of their work, using testimonials, videos, and data to illustrate how contributions translated into real-world change. The preparation process was grueling, involving long hours of planning and coordination, but the entire team rallied behind the effort, united by a common goal. The night of the gala arrived, and the venue buzzed with anticipation. Guests mingled beneath glittering chandeliers, sipping champagne and browsing displays showcasing the foundation's accomplishments. As Mia took the stage to deliver the opening speech, the room fell silent. Dressed in a simple yet elegant gown, she spoke passionately about the importance of collective action and the incredible progress made possible by collaboration. Her sincerity resonated with the audience, many of whom wiped away tears as she recounted specific stories of lives transformed. When Ethan followed with remarks emphasizing accountability and transparency, pledging to use every dollar responsibly, the crowd erupted in applause. By the end of the evening, donations poured in, surpassing expectations and ensuring the continuation of vital programs. The success of the gala marked a turning point for the foundation, solidifying its reputation as a beacon of hope and innovation. Media coverage praised Mia and Ethan for their resilience and leadership, dubbing them visionaries redefining philanthropy. Yet they remained humble, deflecting praise onto the communities they served. For them, the true measure of success lay not in headlines but in the smiles of beneficiaries and the spark of determination in young eyes dreaming of brighter futures. As their influence grew, so did their desire to tackle even more pressing issues. Climate change, healthcare disparities, and educational inequities topped their list of priorities. They assembled advisory boards comprising experts from various fields, pooling knowledge and resources to develop comprehensive strategies. Pilot projects were launched in underserved areas, focusing on renewable energy initiatives, affordable healthcare clinics, and STEM education programs. Each endeavor reflected their holistic approach to problem solving, an understanding that addressing root causes required tackling interconnected challenges simultaneously. Their collaborative spirit extended beyond professional endeavors. On quieter days, they sought solace in nature, hiking trails surrounded by towering trees and serene lakes. These escapes allowed them to reconnect with themselves and reflect on their journey. Conversations flowed freely during these outings, ranging from lighthearted banter about favorite movies to deep discussions about purpose and legacy. It was during one such hike that Mia turned to Ethan with a thoughtful expression. "Do you think we'll ever feel like we've done enough?" she asked softly. Ethan paused, considering the question. "Probably not," he replied with a smile. "But isn't that what keeps us going?" Mia nodded, a sense of peace washing over her. She realized that their pursuit of justice and equality wasn't about reaching an endpoint. It was about embracing the journey itself. Every victory, no matter how small, mattered. Every act of kindness contributed to a larger tapestry of change. And though the road ahead was uncertain, she felt confident knowing they walked it together. Their bond continued to deepen, transcending traditional definitions of friendship. They celebrated milestones, personal and professional, with equal enthusiasm, cheering each other on through triumphs and offering comfort during failures. Birthdays were marked with surprise parties featuring homemade cakes and heartfelt speeches, while anniversaries of their partnership were commemorated with reflections on lessons learned and dreams still to chase. Through it all, they remained steadfast allies bound by a shared vision for a better tomorrow. As word of their story spread globally, invitations to international forums and summits flooded in. Mia and Ethan traveled extensively, sharing insights with leaders and activists. From around the world, their message was simple yet powerful. Lasting change required empathy, collaboration, and unwavering belief in human potential. Audiences responded enthusiastically, inspired by their authenticity and dedication. In return, they absorbed wisdom from others, broadening their perspectives and refining their strategies. Back home, their efforts bore fruit in unexpected ways. Former beneficiaries of their programs returned as volunteers, eager to pay forward the support they had received. Young professionals mentored through the program rose to prominence in their respective fields, crediting Mia and Ethan with shaping their careers. Community centers thrived, becoming hubs of learning and empowerment. Even skeptics softened their stance, acknowledging the tangible benefits brought about by their initiatives. Through it all, Mia and Ethan remained focused on the horizon. They understood that systemic change was a marathon, not a sprint, requiring patience, persistence, and adaptability. Yet they approached each day with optimism, fueled by the knowledge that their actions mattered. Together they proved that compassion and collaboration could dismantle barriers, bridging divides and inspiring others to join the movement. And as they stood side by side, gazing toward the future, they knew their work was far from finished, but they were ready for whatever lay ahead. As Mia and Ethan continued their journey, they began to realize that their work was creating ripples far beyond what they had initially imagined. The foundation they had built wasn't just helping individuals, it was reshaping communities, fostering resilience and planting seeds of hope in places where despair had once taken root. One of the most remarkable examples of this transformation occurred in a small coastal town, devastated by a hurricane. The storm had left thousands homeless, destroying schools, hospitals, and businesses. When news of the disaster reached them, Mia and Ethan wasted no time in mobilizing resources to assist with recovery efforts. They partnered with local organizations to provide emergency relief, food, water, medical supplies, and temporary shelter. But they didn't stop there. Recognizing that rebuilding required more than just immediate aid, they launched a long-term initiative aimed at revitalizing the town's infrastructure and economy. Construction crews were hired from within the community to rebuild homes and public facilities, ensuring that residents had stable jobs during the recovery process. Vocational training programs were introduced to equip people with skills needed for sustainable employment, while microloans were offered to entrepreneurs looking to restart their businesses. It was a holistic approach that addressed both short-term needs and long-term growth. The impact of these efforts was profound. What had once been a ghost town slowly came back to life, its streets bustling with activity again. Children returned to newly constructed schools, fishermen repaired their boats and set sail once more, and shopkeepers reopened their stores with renewed determination. At the heart of this revival was a sense of unity, a collective belief that together they could overcome any challenge. For Mia and Ethan, witnessing this transformation was deeply moving. They saw firsthand how investing in people and empowering them to take charge of their own futures could yield extraordinary results. But the road to recovery wasn't without obstacles. As reconstruction progressed, tensions arose over land ownership disputes and resource allocation. Some residents accused others of hoarding aid or exploiting the situation for personal gain. Faced with these conflicts, Mia stepped in, using her legal expertise to mediate disputes and ensure fair distribution of resources. She organized community meetings, encouraging open dialogue and collaboration. Her calm demeanor and empathetic approach helped ease tensions, reminding everyone that they shared a common goal, rebuilding their town stronger than before. Ethan, meanwhile, focused on securing additional funding to sustain the recovery efforts. He reached out to corporate sponsors, philanthropists, and government agencies, making impassioned appeals for support. His ability to articulate the importance of investing in resilient infrastructure resonated with many, leading to increased contributions. More importantly, he emphasized the human element behind the numbers, the stories of families reunited, dreams reignited, and lives restored. This narrative struck a chord, inspiring donors to go above and beyond their initial commitments. Their combined efforts not only transformed the coastal town, but also served as a model for other regions facing similar crises. News of their success spread, prompting requests for assistance from areas affected by floods, wildfires, and earthquakes. While they couldn't personally oversee every project, Mia and Ethan developed frameworks that could be adapted to different contexts, ensuring scalability and sustainability. They trained local leaders to implement these strategies, empowering communities to take ownership of their recovery journeys. In doing so, they demonstrated that true resilience stemmed not from external intervention, but from internal strength and solidarity. Amidst these large-scale endeavors, Mia and Ethan never lost sight of individual stories. They made it a point to visit project sites regularly, speaking directly with beneficiaries to understand their challenges and aspirations. These interactions reminded them of the human faces behind the statistics. The elderly woman who finally had a roof over her head after months of uncertainty, the teenager pursuing higher education thanks to a scholarship fund, the single father opening a bakery with a microloan. Each story reinforced their belief in the power of compassion and action. One such encounter left an indelible mark on both of them. During a trip to a rural village benefiting from one of their agricultural initiatives, they met a young girl named Amina. Barely 10 years old, Amina had taken on the responsibility of caring for her younger siblings after their parents passed away in a flood. Despite her circumstances, she radiated optimism, eagerly sharing her dream of becoming a teacher someday. Moved by her spirit, Mia promised to help her access educational opportunities, while Ethan arranged for financial assistance to ease her burdens. Years later, when Amina graduated top of her class and secured a teaching position in her hometown, she wrote a heartfelt letter thanking them for believing in her potential. Reading her words brought tears to their eyes, reaffirming their purpose. Their dedication to uplifting others earned them widespread recognition, but accolades weren't what drove them. Instead, they found fulfillment in the quiet moments, the smiles of gratitude, the hugs of appreciation, the knowing nods of understanding. These gestures spoke volumes, reminding them why they had chosen this path. Yet, they also understood that visibility came with responsibility. As public figures, they used their platform to advocate for systemic changes, calling attention to issues often overlooked by mainstream narratives. Whether it was addressing climate justice, advocating for affordable health care, or championing gender equality, they spoke boldly and unapologetically, challenging norms and inspiring action. Their advocacy extended to mentoring the next generation of changemakers. They established fellowships for young leaders passionate about social impact, providing them with mentorship, funding, and networking opportunities. Many of these fellows went on to launch groundbreaking initiatives, tackling problems ranging from mental health stigma to food insecurity. Watching these young visionaries thrive filled Mia and Ethan with pride, knowing they were cultivating a legacy of empathy and innovation. Despite their achievements, they remained acutely aware of the challenges ahead. Global crises like pandemics, economic downturns, and geopolitical tensions threatened to undo progress made in vulnerable communities. Climate change loomed large, exacerbating existing inequalities and creating new ones. Yet rather than succumbing to despair, Mia and Ethan embraced these challenges as opportunities for innovation. They invested in research and development, exploring cutting-edge solutions to pressing problems. From renewable energy projects to digital literacy programs, they sought to harness technology for good, ensuring inclusivity and accessibility. Their partnership evolved alongside their ambitions, growing stronger with each passing year. Conversations that once revolved around logistics and strategies now delved into deeper philosophical questions about purpose and legacy. "What do you want people to remember us for?" Ethan asked one evening as they sat by a campfire under a starlit sky. Mia pondered the question for a moment before responding. "I want them to remember that we tried, to make things better, even if it felt impossible sometimes." Ethan nodded, adding, "and that we did it together." That sense of togetherness sustained them through difficult times. There were days when exhaustion weighed heavily on their shoulders, when doubts crept in and failures seemed insurmountable. But they leaned on each other, drawing strength from shared memories and mutual respect. Their bond transcended friendship. It was a partnership forged in trust, resilience, and unwavering commitment to a shared vision. Together, they proved that collaboration wasn't just about combining strengths. It was about amplifying impact through unity. As their story continued to inspire millions worldwide, they reflected on the lessons learned along the way. They realized that true change required humility, the willingness to listen, learn, and adapt. It demanded courage, the audacity to challenge status quos and embrace uncertainty. And above all, it necessitated compassion, the ability to see humanity in every interaction and act accordingly. These principles guided their actions, shaping not only their work, but also their character. Years turned into decades, and though their hair grayed and their steps slowed, their passion remained undiminished. They celebrated milestones, not just their own, but those of the countless lives they had touched. Former beneficiaries became mentors themselves, passing on the torch of kindness and empowerment. Community centers flourished, becoming self-sustaining hubs of innovation and growth. Policies influenced by their advocacy improved conditions for marginalized populations, creating pathways to opportunity and justice. Through it all, Mia and Ethan stood side by side, gazing toward the horizon with eyes full of hope. They knew the world still faced immense challenges, but they also believed in its capacity for renewal. Their journey had taught them that change was possible, not through grand gestures, but through consistent acts of love and determination. And as they looked at each other, weathered yet unbroken, they smiled, knowing they had given everything they could to leave the world better than they found it. As the years rolled on, Mia and Ethan found themselves reflecting more often on the legacy they were building, not just for themselves, but for generations to come. Their work had grown from a simple act of kindness into a movement that spanned continents, touching lives in ways they could never have anticipated. Yet amidst the accolades and achievements, they remained grounded, focusing not on what they had accomplished, but on what still needed to be done. They understood that true change was generational, requiring patience, persistence, and faith in humanity's ability to evolve. One of their most ambitious undertakings during this period was the establishment of an international institute dedicated to fostering innovation in social justice. The idea had been brewing for years, inspired by the countless stories of resilience and creativity they had encountered along their journey. The institute would serve as a hub for thinkers, activists, policymakers, and community leaders to collaborate on solutions to some of the world's most pressing issues. From addressing systemic racism to combating climate change, the institute aimed to tackle problems holistically, combining research, advocacy, and grassroots action. Building the institute was no small feat. It required securing land, recruiting top-tier faculty, designing curricula, and raising funds on an unprecedented scale. But Mia and Ethan approached the challenge with the same determination that had defined their partnership from the beginning. They traveled extensively, meeting with potential donors, negotiating partnerships with universities, and consulting experts in various fields. Every decision was made with meticulous care, ensuring that the institute embodied their values of inclusivity, accessibility, and sustainability. When the institute finally opened its doors, it quickly became a beacon of hope for changemakers around the globe. Students from diverse backgrounds flocked to enroll in its programs, eager to learn how to translate passion into impact. Faculty members brought with them decades of experience, guiding students through rigorous coursework while encouraging them to think critically and act boldly. Workshops, conferences, and hackathons filled the campus calendar, creating opportunities for collaboration and experimentation. Perhaps most importantly, the institute prioritized community engagement, partnering with local organizations to ensure that academic theories translated into practical solutions. Mia took on a hands-on role at the institute, teaching courses on civil rights law and mentoring young advocates. Her classroom wasn't confined to four walls. She often led discussions outdoors under sprawling trees or beside tranquil ponds, fostering an environment where ideas could flow freely. She encouraged her students to embrace vulnerability, reminding them that failure was an essential part of growth. Every setback is a lesson, she would say, and every lesson brings you closer to your goal. Her words resonated deeply, inspiring many to persevere despite daunting odds. Ethan, meanwhile, focused on expanding the institute's reach beyond academia. He spearheaded initiatives to connect graduates with real-world opportunities, helping them secure internships, fellowships, and funding for their projects. He also launched a global network of alumni, providing a platform for former students to share resources, collaborate on ventures, and support one another's endeavors. This network proved invaluable, transforming isolated efforts into collective movements capable of driving systemic change. Their combined efforts ensured that the institute didn't just produce graduates, it produced catalysts for transformation. Alumni went on to launch groundbreaking initiatives, from tech platforms connecting underserved communities with essential services to policy reforms addressing environmental injustices. Many credited Mia and Ethan with instilling in them the confidence to dream big and the tools to turn those dreams into reality. For Mia and Ethan, there was no greater reward than seeing their mentees thrive, knowing they had helped nurture a new generation of leaders. Yet even as they celebrated these successes, Mia and Ethan faced moments of introspection. They knew that lasting change required confronting uncomfortable truths about privilege, power, and inequality. They challenged themselves to examine their own roles within systems they sought to dismantle, asking difficult questions about accountability and responsibility. These reflections weren't easy. They forced them to confront biases and blind spots, but they were necessary. By doing so, they set an example for others, demonstrating that true allyship required humility and continuous learning. Their commitment to self-awareness extended to their personal lives as well. As the demands of their work grew, they recognized the importance of maintaining balance. They carved out time for hobbies, travel, and quiet reflection, understanding that burnout could undermine even the noblest intentions. Whether it was painting landscapes during weekends or taking long walks along the beach, they found joy in activities that allowed them to recharge and reconnect with themselves. These moments strengthened their bond, reminding them of the beauty in simplicity and the value of presence. Amidst their busy schedules, they also made time to honor milestones, both personal and professional. Birthdays were marked with intimate gatherings featuring homemade meals and heartfelt speeches, while anniversaries of their partnership were commemorated with reflections on lessons learned and dreams yet to chase. These celebrations weren't just about nostalgia. They were reminders of how far they had come and how much they had achieved together. Each shared laugh, each tear shed, reinforced their gratitude for having found each other. Their story continued to inspire millions worldwide. Transcending borders and cultures, documentaries chronicled their journey, capturing moments of triumph and struggle alike. Books were written about their unconventional friendship and the ripple effect it had created. Schools incorporated their story into curriculums, teaching students about the power of empathy and teamwork. People from all walks of life found inspiration in their example, proving that acts of kindness, no matter how small, could spark movements capable of transforming society. For Mia, the journey was a testament to resilience and belief. Every obstacle she had overcome, every victory she had celebrated reinforced her faith in the possibility of change. She knew that none of it would have been possible without Ethan's unwavering support, and she vowed to honor his generosity by continuing to fight for justice. For Ethan, the experience had redefined his understanding of success. He no longer measured his worth by material possessions, but by the lives he touched and the opportunities he created. Together, they proved that true wealth lay not in riches but in relationships and shared purpose. As they stood side by side at a gala celebrating the Institute's 5th anniversary, surrounded by beneficiaries, supporters, and friends, they exchanged a glance filled with unspoken gratitude. Though their journey had been anything but easy, they wouldn't trade it for anything. Through laughter, tears, victories, and setbacks, they had built something remarkable, a partnership founded on trust, respect, and a shared vision for a better world. And as they looked toward the future, they knew there was still much work to be done. But with each other by their side, they faced it with hope, knowing that together they could achieve the impossible. Years turned into decades, and though their hair grayed and their steps slowed, their passion remained undiminished. They celebrated milestones, not just their own but those of the countless lives they had touched. Former beneficiaries became mentors themselves, passing on the torch of kindness and empowerment. Community centers flourished, becoming self-sustaining hubs of innovation and growth. Policies influenced by their advocacy improved conditions for marginalized populations, creating pathways to opportunity and justice. Through it all, Mia and Ethan stood side by side, gazing toward the horizon with eyes full of hope. They knew the world still faced immense challenges, But they also believed in its capacity for renewal. Their journey had taught them that change was possible, not through grand gestures, but through consistent acts of love and determination. And as they looked at each other, weathered yet unbroken, they smiled, knowing they had given everything they could to leave the world better than they found it. As Mia and Ethan entered the later chapters of their lives, they found themselves reflecting not just on what they had achieved, but on the profound connections they had nurtured along the way. Their partnership, which had started with an act of kindness in a college diner, had grown into something far greater than either of them could have imagined. It wasn't just about the scholarships they funded, the communities they rebuilt, or the institute that bore their vision. It was about the countless lives they had touched, and the ripple effects of those interactions spreading across generations. 1. Crisp autumn morning as they sat together on the porch of Ethan's countryside home, sipping tea and watching golden leaves drift lazily to the ground, Mia turned to him with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever wonder if we've done enough?" she asked softly, her voice tinged with both curiosity and a hint of vulnerability. Ethan paused, setting his cup down on the wooden railing before answering. "Enough for who?" he replied, his tone gentle yet probing. "If you mean us, no, I don't think we'll ever feel like we've done enough. But if you mean others, well, look at everything that's happened because of our work." He gestured vaguely toward the horizon, as though encompassing all the lives they had impacted over the years. Mia nodded slowly, absorbing his words. She knew he was right. Their journey had sparked transformations they might never fully comprehend. From Amina, the young girl who dreamed of becoming a teacher, to Clara, the single mother who reclaimed her dignity through justice, their actions had created domino effects that stretched far beyond their immediate reach. They had ignited hope in places where despair once reigned, proving time and again that compassion could be a catalyst for change. Yet even as they celebrated these victories, they understood that their work would always remain unfinished. The world was vast, its problems complex and ever-evolving, demanding constant vigilance and innovation. In their twilight years, Mia and Ethan shifted their focus slightly, dedicating more time to mentoring the next generation of leaders. They hosted intimate gatherings at the Institute, inviting young activists, entrepreneurs, and thinkers to share their ideas and challenges. These sessions were less formal and more conversational, allowing for honest exchanges about fears, failures, and aspirations. Mia often reminded participants that setbacks were inevitable, but emphasized the importance of resilience. "You will stumble," she told them during one such meeting, "but every fall is an opportunity to rise stronger. Keep going, not because it's easy, but because it matters." Ethan echoed this sentiment, encouraging young changemakers to embrace collaboration over competition. "No one does this alone," he said firmly. "The biggest breakthroughs come when people unite around a shared purpose. Find your allies, lift each other up, and trust that collective effort can move mountains." His advice resonated deeply, inspiring many to seek partnerships rather than pursue solitary paths. Through these interactions, Mia and Ethan ensured that their legacy wouldn't fade with time. It would adapt, evolve, and continue to inspire. Their personal bond remained as strong as ever, a testament to the power of mutual respect and shared values. Though their bodies grew weaker with age, their spirits stayed vibrant, fueled by memories of triumphs and lessons learned. They spent hours reminiscing about their early days, how Mia juggled waitressing shifts while studying late into the night, how Ethan navigated corporate boardrooms determined to prove himself. These stories served as reminders of where they had come from and how far they had traveled together. They laughed at old jokes, revisited favorite haunts, and occasionally teased each other about quirks that hadn't changed over the decades. Yet amidst the nostalgia, they also embraced the present moment. They took long walks in the woods behind Ethan's property, marveling at the changing seasons and finding solace in nature's quiet beauty. They cooked meals together, experimenting with recipes passed down through generations or inspired by cultures they had encountered during their travels. These simple pleasures brought them immense joy, reinforcing the idea that fulfillment came not from grand achievements, but from cherishing the everyday moments. As word of their enduring partnership spread, they became symbols of hope and possibility. People marveled at how two individuals from vastly different worlds had come together to create something extraordinary. Documentaries, articles, and books highlighted their story, emphasizing the transformative power of empathy and action. Yet, despite the attention, Mia and Ethan remained humble. They deflected praise onto the communities they served, insisting that true heroes were those who fought daily battles against injustice and adversity. For them, recognition was secondary. What mattered most was the impact of their work. Their health eventually began to decline, a natural consequence of aging. But even as physical limitations slowed them down, their resolve remained unshaken. They adapted their routines, finding new ways to contribute from the comfort of their home. Mia dictated letters to former students, offering guidance and encouragement, while Ethan used video calls to connect with project teams working in remote areas. Technology allowed them to stay engaged, ensuring that their voices continued to inspire even when their bodies couldn't keep pace. When Mia passed away peacefully one spring afternoon, surrounded by loved ones, Ethan felt a profound void. Her absence left a silence that no words could fill, yet he found comfort in knowing she had lived a life rich with purpose and love. In her honor, he established a scholarship fund specifically for women pursuing careers in law and social justice, a fitting tribute to the woman who had dedicated her life to fighting for equality. At her memorial service, held beneath a canopy of blooming flowers, Ethan delivered a heartfelt eulogy, his voice steady despite the weight of his grief. "Mia taught me that success isn't measured by wealth or accolades," he said. "It's measured by the lives you touch and the dreams you help realize. She was my greatest teacher, and I will carry her lessons with me forever." In the months that followed, Ethan channeled his sorrow into action, pouring his energy into projects they had started together. He visited classrooms, attended graduations, and spoke at conferences, sharing Mia's story and urging others to follow in her footsteps. Her memory became a guiding light, reminding him of why they had embarked on this journey in the first place. Though he missed her dearly, he found solace in the knowledge that her spirit lived on, not just in him but in everyone whose life she had touched. When Ethan joined Mia several years later, their legacy endured. The Institute thrived, producing graduates who carried forward their vision of a fairer, kinder world. Alumni networks expanded, connecting change-makers across continents and amplifying their collective impact. Communities they had helped rebuild remained resilient, passing down stories of hope and perseverance to future generations. And though they were no longer physically present, their influence lingered in every act of kindness, every policy reform, every dream realized because someone believed it was possible. Their story became a timeless reminder of the power of compassion and collaboration. It proved that no obstacle was insurmountable when met with determination and heart. That wealth wasn't defined by material possessions, but by the relationships we nurture and the lives we uplift. And that true success lay not in reaching an end point but in embracing the journey, the messy, beautiful, unpredictable journey of making the world a better place. Years after their passing, people still gathered to honor their memory. At annual galas, students lit candles in their names, pledging to continue their work. In classrooms, teachers recounted their story, inspiring young minds to dream boldly and act courageously. In quiet moments, strangers whispered prayers of gratitude, acknowledging the unseen ways their lives had been shaped by Mia and Ethan's unwavering belief in humanity's potential. Through it all, their message remained clear. Change begins with a single act of kindness and grows infinitely when shared with others.